Ladies and gentlemen, what is up? What's going on? Otakus of South Florida. This is the Otakus of South Florida fireside chat where we just talk about hot topics that is trending in otaku-like culture, be it gaming, anime, comic book related, you name it. We're here to talk about it. And here with me is Waluigi, Jake James Lugo, and Boosted David, or is it DGK? I mean, or either one.
Call me DJK, that's fine.
DGK, okay, alright. So
Relays is my Instagram, but DJK is what everybody in like the gaming community knows me by.
I'm still gonna call you PK Cheese.
You can call me PK Cheese. I know that's the nickname my friends came up with.
Alright, you guys already know who I am. I'm the Silverback Senpai, and of course my co-host of the South Florida Gamers Podcast, Waluigi. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Long time no see, guys. It's your boy Waluigi, professional otaku, unlicensed waifu hunter, but you know, we're here right now having a smashing conversation. Don't you judge me all.
Licensed.
Right now.
I need to show you license. Anyways, we're gonna have a smashing conversation. Let's introduce our next two guests.
All right, Jake.
This man said he's gonna have a smashing
A
conversation.
smashing look. I know.
Yeah. So some of you may know me, some of you don't, but yeah, I'm Jake James Lugo. Call me JJ. Content creator / games media personality / writer, video creator, podcaster. I do a whole bunch of stuff. I'm on YouTube, all over the place. I love talking about games, being part of the conversation about games, and doing a whole bunch of stuff related to video games online. So yeah, nice to see y'all. Hopefully you guys enjoy this episode. It's gonna be pretty fun and goofy, as you could tell.
Yeah.
I had to start it right.
It's your boy DGK, David Gonzalez. You guys already know me probably. If you play Smash Brothers in South Florida, play Ultimate, you definitely know me. If you go into any tournament, I know you've seen me. You've seen the cheese. You've seen it live. It's funny as hell. You guys hate it, but I love it.
Alrighty, so I would like to say that we had this episode actually record. We've already done an episode. This is just a redo because my dumbass ended up forgetting to let the thing render in the background. So the file ended up getting corrupted. So I had to get these gentlemen again to, re-talk about the same conversation that we had yesterday. But I'm pretty sure after that conversation when we talked about the relationship between the Smash community and Nintendo, I'm pretty sure we can elaborate on what we spoke about yesterday and then maybe go in a little bit more if there was anything that you guys may have left out. So pretty much I wanted to know what is the relationship between the Smash community and Nintendo, because myself, I don't play Smash. I'm not a part of the Smash community. I don't go to any of their tournaments or whatnot because as an outsider, I look at it as okay, just a party game that just became competitive, right? But there's a lot of passionate players in this community and a lot of passionate people on top of that bring, everybody together for this game to the point where it's making main headlines. It's being held at big name tournaments like CEO, what was the
Evo.
other? Evo, thank
Genesis.
you.
Genesis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I brought on Jake, and of course I brought on DGK because DGK, he plays Smash competitively, and Jake also knows much, the business side of Nintendo, and pretty much we're just gonna, talk about and elaborate on a couple of things that, what is the problem between these two? Like, why are they at odds with each other when when they could be working with each other? So, Waluigi, you have any thoughts you want to start off with?
Don't start with what I think you're gonna say.
Oh man,
it's too early for that.
I'll wait later. I want these.
Okay. I already know what he's gonna talk about.
I feel so attacked already.
I read the words before. I read your mind so well.
Oh, man.
Just say it. I don't want to be rude.
No. I'm not gonna say it. Not yet.
Okay, not yet. Okay, not yet. I'm sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead, Waluigi. You finish your statement.
No. Keep going. Let's keep the flow going.
Jake, you want to go first? You want me to? You want me to
Oh
sit
yeah, you
biggest?
can go first because again, I think
Yeah,
I
I
might be
got
a
you.
little over.
What I did mention actually yesterday also, which I should have talked about that as well. I should have mentioned. I'm sorry for calling you Jay. I should call you JJ. I know you.
That's okay.
I'm trying to speak to call you JJ now. What I should have mentioned yesterday is I know we were referring a lot to the Twitlonger that was posted. And you guys probably saw on Twitter about the whole beef between, not really beef, but the whole divide between Nintendo and Smash community.
Right.
But another factor is we don't know who's writing this Twitlonger. It's not 100% confirmed, verified information. There's no like proper sourcing. Like, I mean, I know a lot of these things are things that people in the community have seen themselves or like have been through, like the whole Evo thing. Like, we know that that actually happened. But some of the other things that they discuss isn't 100%, guaranteed. We may not know the full story. We may not know the full sides. So I just wanted to like let that disclaimer out there. Like, again, we have to kind of like, we're talking about it, but it's not something that's like set in stone 100%. Like, you got to take it with a grain of salt kind of thing. You got to like, just like, I forgot to mention that pretty much yesterday as well.
Okay. Anyone else?
Uh,
Awkward silence.
I mean, I could just start off like,
Yeah.
okay. So pretty much what happened with the whole Nintendo and the whole divide between the community and Nintendo was like anonymous Twitter account posted a whole Twitlonger just discussing about how Nintendo has shut down tournaments for a lengthy period of time regarding Smash and canceling events or trying to damage the scene in different ways. Again, so like I said, take it with a grain of salt. We don't really know who the person is that's posting this. Not I don't want to say I don't want to discredit them because we don't know, but it's not, you can't just refer to it as 100% factual information. But anyway, the biggest issue what happened recently with Big House was the Big House was trying to host a Melee tournament through online using Slippy, which is a modified version of Melee. And although the actual game itself remains intact, the characters play the same way. It's modified basically to allow players to play with each other remotely. It also has rollback netcode to allow for players to play much smoother. Doesn't have a lot of the internet and lag issues that happens when you play Smash Ultimate online. So it fixes a lot of those issues. So again, that's why the community really loves Slippy. It's not exactly like playing offline, but it's the closest thing possible to it. So they did a really good job with that, the creators of Slippy. But again, it is technically a modified version of the game. It's not legal. It's considered piracy. So Nintendo does have full right to cease and desist, and which is what they actually did. They came out, they made the statement, they ordered the cease and desist for the Melee tournament, and they canceled it. They want to allow Big House to host or stream the tournament, and then they also decided to go ahead and cancel the Smash Ultimate tournament as well, which JJ referred to yesterday as well, which I didn't even know too much about this specifically. But he also mentioned that this was because at first Big House was hesitant to cancel the Melee tournament. So again,
They refused. They weren't even hesitant. They refused.
they
That's
refused actually. Yeah, even
Nintendo
worse.
said that themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, again, like JJ definitely made an excellent point yesterday. Like my only thing is with Nintendo is like, I understand definitely why they cease and desisted the Melee portion of the game. They want to stop. They don't want to support like piracy or promote some type of like modifying game files and things of that sort. But I do think there are methods that they may be able to go about a little bit better. Maybe get some leeway here and there. Canceling Ultimate, I don't think was the right thing. I know it's because they want Big House to host that event. They may not feel comfortable with the way Big House refused to cancel Melee. But again, I think looking past just Big House themselves, it also damages a lot of players that wanted to enter that tournament. A lot of Ultimate players. We have a lot of Wi-Fi players that want to enter. Best Nest, MKLeo, they play Wi-Fi, like that. So they might have been looking forward to this tournament. They want to play. They want to go out there and compete. And then and it's canceled, and it's really out of the players' control in this sense. So I feel it's a little bit damaging in a PR marketing perspective. I understand why they did it, but I still think they should take a little bit more of everything, all factors into consideration. They don't have to, of course. They're IP. They can do what they want. And they really don't need to. They're going to sell the game regardless. People are going to play regardless. But again, I think that definitely could have been handled a little bit better. And then when it comes to Melee, I know we talked about how Melee is like a 20-year-old game, and people are saying like, oh, just leave it alone. And I understand that argument side of it, like, don't touch it, leave it alone, like just let people play it. It's a dated game. People who play Melee, some of them actually like Ultimate. They have copies of Ultimate. The ones that don't really care for Ultimate, that only play Melee, they're not going to buy Ultimate regardless. So you can argue that as well. But that's still not in the best interest of Nintendo. So why would they want to allow these types of tournaments? But in my opinion, if I was in Nintendo's shoes, I would maybe let them know and place certain like restrictions. Let them know like, okay, personally, I would be okay with them playing Slippy because I know it's a modified copy, it's illegal and it's piracy, but it's the base game is the same. And I feel like in this sense, I know that they don't want to allow or open up to future piracy, which is why I would step in as Nintendo and make a statement and say we would like to support the community, allow you guys to play Slippy because it's the only form of online that you can play remotely, compete with for Melee. But we want to make sure that you guys know that piracy, modifying game files and things of that sort are not tolerated. And if you guys overstep boundaries, if you guys start modifying updated games, or you guys start modifying other titles, we'll step in and claim cease and desist, or we might have to give some leeway. Like they might just go ahead and say, okay, if you guys overstep your boundaries, we will cancel these Melee events. So I want it to be a sense that the community knows, let's be fair and let's be reasonable with Nintendo. And Nintendo needs to know that they also have the power to control and make those decisions, but I would say damage control and from a PR perspective, allow the community to play and just enjoy the game and just avoid creating these types of situations. I feel is most optimal. But again, they don't have to. They really don't. That's again, sometimes it's not even in their best interest. So, it is what it is. We gotta we gotta keep going through it.
Yeah, definitely. Jake,
Definitely.
your thoughts?
Well, yeah, and here's the thing that I said when we first started talking about this, and I still find the same sentiments, even thinking on it and such. The sad truth that I think that the Melee community or the Smash community and really the Nintendo community, encompassing people that play Smash and people that cover games that are Nintendo games and make content about them, is that Nintendo does not care about what's morally right here. Nintendo doesn't care about everybody's feelings on the matter. Okay, they have to do what's right for their business and what's right to protect their IP, their intellectual property, the rights of their franchises. Really, like I was telling you guys yesterday, and I'll say it again for everybody here on this. This whole entire debacle, this whole entire argument and debate was over before it even started. Because when everybody, players, consumers, people that are fans of Nintendo, people that are complaining about this on social media now, when you buy a Nintendo game, you agree to their terms of service and their user agreement, which is on their website. On right now, you could actually go look at it. If you're listening to this now, go on the Nintendo website and go look at the user agreement, both for the Switch and also just for the general Nintendo like product stuff. And it says in there in a multiple bullet points, even on the portions where it talks about content creation, which is a separate thing, where they have the final say on everything. They have the final say on what they say can go or what cannot go, what they think is right or what's not right with their own IPs. You as a consumer, the right that you have to actually use that game in the way that it's given, as opposed to just streaming or putting it on for an event, modifying it or using it for derivative works, which is really where everybody gets caught with this stuff, because a mod or any sort of like change to any sort of thing with a Nintendo game becomes a derivative work, and immediately Nintendo could put a cease and desist or even sue you to oblivion for doing something like that.
Oof.
And the key point with that too, especially with the big house, that a lot of people seem to be overlooking a lot, that despite it being a tournament where you pay a registration fee, there is still money that changes hands. Even if you're doing an event that goes for charity, that's still money that changes hands, and that is illegal. You cannot like do something like that, especially when you agree to purchasing a Nintendo game or purchasing a Nintendo product, I should say. You don't have the right to modify it. You don't have the right to even stream it unless Nintendo says so. That's just a fact. As much as we dislike that, even me as a content creator and as someone that makes content about Nintendo games stuff, Nintendo could just be like, hey, we just don't care about this right now. We don't like you. We don't want you doing this. And everybody has to abide by it. People will be upset. People will be pissed off, rightfully so. And you could complain about it on social media, but that's not going to change anything. Nintendo's one of those companies that has that old Japanese mindset. They're the one company in the entire games industry that has the biggest endurance out of everybody. They're over 100 years old. They're about 130 years old, from my calculations.
Yeah.
And that's that
Crazy.
mindset and their business practices, their business ethics has allowed them to endure this entire time. Look at they've done. They single-handedly back in the 80s revived the entire video game industry by
That
doing
is true.
some of the stuff
100%.
a lot of people deemed as very unsavory. Remember, they had an ironclad control with the NES, with the amount of cartridges that developers could actually get used to make their games and stuff. On top of that, a lot of people are bringing up a lot of old cases when it comes to copyright stuff, And copyright, copyright claims and cease and desist stuff, they're really not the same thing. There's a lot of different topics that are getting put into a hodgepodge of this entire discussion. If you really want a good like summary and a good like overlook of what's what when it comes to Nintendo's business practices, and especially with what's going on with the big house, go look at a video that Hogue Law did that has a good summary and like a good like layout of everything that went down, because he looks at it from an actual lawyer's perspective, from the justice system. And regardless of how you feel, the law does not give a damn about how you feel about anything. It doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the
100%.
law is written by the word. Like, you have to abide by it.
Facts.
Hands down.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of sympathy and there's a lot of empathy for what's going on with what's happening to the big house and a lot of the players out there. Like, again, I've seen all the videos by Hungry Box, by Leftin, by all these other people that have put stuff out on social media, and a lot of even this anonymous thing that's put up by Twitlonger, which, again, like you said, we can't really verify all the information, but like I'm pretty sure like some of the bits and pieces could get traced back to their rightful sources, and
Definitely.
pretty sure the
Yeah.
Nintendo ninjas, as I like to call them, know what's up when it
Mhm.
comes to that stuff. But regardless of that being the case, there is nothing that could be done for what's happening with this thing. Like, the fact is that Slippy is a mod to Smash Brothers Melee, to an old game that is over 20 years old now at this point. I think about over 20 years old at this point. And the game originally was not intended to function like that. So if you're trying to host an event with Nintendo games and they see that, obviously they have to shut it down, because not just of the fact that you're modifying their game or allowing their game to be modified and played, regardless, even if they bought a copy of Melee, if they legally purchased a copy of Melee, that doesn't mean to say, or that doesn't stop to say, that they probably also have emulated copies of that game in order to run for multiple people. Like that, there's no way to tell that. On top of that, also, they have to set a precedent, because since Nintendo has to protect their intellectual property, what's to stop other businesses or other entities of taking advantage of this one instance that they let go? Like, and that's not just with Smash. That's with anything Nintendo related. That happened back in the 80s. I think I told you guys with the NES and the Tengen cartridges. When Tengen tried to bypass the copyright protection of the NES and they started making unauthorized black cartridges, Nintendo had to shut that down. There was a whole big court case about that. A whole big thing. And the Tengen owed money to Nintendo. Like, that was a big deal. And it's something we see happen all the time. We see it happen with fan games, protecting their intellectual property. Look what happened to the AM2R fan game for Metroid, another Metroid 2 remake game that came out. They shut that down real quick. The same thing also with Super Mario 64 HD. I don't know.
Oh
if you guys
yeah,
saw
I
this.
remember that, because I remember way back, like I think years ago, you could play Super Mario 64 HD on your desktop, and I remember I was just like having a ball with it.
That wasn't based on the cartridge of Super Mario 64. That was being built like, using it as like a reference and stuff. But it was done with the Unreal Engine, I think, at the time.
Yeah.
I think it was
that.
It was trying to present that game in HD and make it look good and stuff, but it wasn't done by Nintendo, like straight up. So they obviously put the kibosh on it. They came at them with their lawyers really hard. Look what happened even now. If you really want a good example of how vicious Nintendo can be when it comes to protecting their assets and protecting their business, look what happened to the hacker that just that did the big hack this year for all that Nintendo stuff that came out. He got 3 years in prison, straight up.
Oh my gosh.
For free. Like, he's going away for a while.
Well,
Because, again, like, they have to be very vicious and very vigilant on this type of stuff. And as much as, again, I need to reinstate, like, I'm a fan of Smash. I like playing Smash Brothers online with Smash Ultimate and playing and engaging with the different communities and Nintendo communities, and specifically Smash. Like that, that's cool. And I empathize with the worry that a lot of people have, that they want to be able to play their game. And I empathize a little bit with the big house, but they knew exactly what they were doing. And like I said, and I told you guys before, they refused Nintendo's request to stop. Nintendo went to them and be like, hey, please don't have this game here. This is a modified game. Can you please take it out? Said no. So Nintendo, being Nintendo and having the right to do what they want, decided to shut everything down. And more than likely, they shut down Ultimate as an example. Like, again, that was purely out of spite. Because if you're not going to work with them, why should they work with you? Why should they?
Yeah, the promulgation of evidence. Yeah,
definitely.
I want to add before I pass it on, a lot of that leak that came, or it wasn't even really a leak, it was that Twitlonger that came out that was referencing a lot of stuff happening with ESL, happening with
MLG,
happening with with Twitch and stuff.
Twitch, Red Bull.
Okay, Red Bull, a lot of these companies, specifically Twitch, the reason why they have to bend so much over backwards for Nintendo and have to really cater to them, even though they might have written agreements and all this other stuff, is because Nintendo, because of their user agreements and stuff, they have pretty much a final say in all that stuff, but they can also sue Twitch for allowing
streaming.
players, allowing people to
Mhm.
show games that are modified or pirated like that. There's a thing in the copyright law, okay,
Mhm.
that allows an IP holder or someone that's a rights holder that created something, a game or whatever, a company, that allows them to sue the entity that's enabling another entity for actually pirating or for taking advantage of their copyright. Now,
Yeah.
what that means is, to put it in
Mhm.
simple terms, like pretty much if you play Project M, which is another thing that they shut down real quick. If you play Project M or if you play Smash Brothers Melee with Slippy enabled, they could go to, if they see you streaming that on Twitch, they could go to Twitch and sue Twitch for allowing you to do that. That's why they have to respond to
Mhm.
NCA notices and copyright notices so quickly. Because if they don't and they say no, then Nintendo's going to take them to court and everybody's going to be screwed. And that's going to be a bigger problem for everybody straight up than just a Smash Brothers tournament. And that's another thing that's another falter of Twitch as a platform. And you can say the same thing about YouTube as well. You know, they try to handle it as best they can and stuff. But a lot of people and a lot of the individuals that are talking about this stuff and are talking about this situation specifically with the big house and about free Millie and all this other stuff really don't understand just how deep this rabbit hole goes and how much that really the community in of itself is its own undoing. And that's just the way it is, honestly.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
To follow up with that, like what I would say is like my problem right now with the community, honestly, is it's just a couple different things. Like first of all, I think a lot of times we go about it the wrong way. Like I've seen on Twitter, they're comparing Nintendo to EA. I mean, guys,
Yeah, come on,
come on.
that's not fair.
Let's
Oh
let's
my
be realistic, guys.
god.
Come
Yeah.
on. And I
I'm
and I
sorry,
know I
what?
know
That's
Nintendo
people. That's
Nintendo
people talking to talk just because
yeah,
they're mad and they want to throw like the worst comparisons in the world.
attention and
But
yeah,
also, it's really because there's a lot of high emotions going around, and also bad examples from a lot of figureheads in the community and a lot of individuals that everybody looks up to that follow suit. And I think that's wrong. That's not fair.
yeah. No, no, I definitely agree. Like for me, Um, when it comes to community, like I think as a whole, like we can definitely do a better job in that aspect. Like, I mean, if you come on, guys, don't compare Nintendo to EA. Like, in my
Yeah.
opinion, like I know you guys want to like
Who
throw,
would?
a little bit of shade on Nintendo. Nintendo's not a perfect company. They've done unethical things, but the difference with Nintendo is that,
Yeah. Yeah, but the main thing is, it's just like really
sorry about that.
Nintendo gets a lot of unfair treatment like that, and I think it's really because a lot of the people that are, again, a lot of content creators, a lot of people that will watch, have a lot of attention and outreach and stuff, really perpetuate that same type of thing. And unfortunately, a lot of the big information, like again, like what you would get from Hogue Law or from even Nintendo themselves, gets overshadowed by all the stuff being put out there by these people.
Definitely, it's
Agreed.
always like a
I
case of
agree.
like the bad gets put out there more than the good. Like in my
Yeah.
opinion, I know that Nintendo's definitely done. If we look at it across the board, like this is something that people take like for granted is that Nintendo is like a seal of quality for video games. And when Nintendo publishes a game, the level of quality they produce in that game is immense, and that's their main focus is to produce high quality games to make sales.
Right.
And the difference is that when they release a high quality product, they're basically challenging every other studio and every other industry to meet that standard because now Nintendo's publishing games and you're playing them and you're like, wow, this is incredible. And then if you play another developer's game and it's half-assed, you're gonna play it and be like, I don't want to play this anymore. I want to
Yeah.
play, I want to play a Nintendo product. I want to play like when you play Genshin Impact, people compare it to Zelda Breath of the Wild, and then a lot of people will go, I'd rather just play Breath of the Wild. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I understand Breath of the Wild is incredible. So, I think people don't give credit to the fact that Nintendo is elevating the studios to do better. If we just have companies like EA going crazy, the quality of video games would decline, in my opinion. Like we
Yeah.
need companies that can compete, companies that go out there and produce games of high quality. CD Projekt Red, Sucker Punch, Naughty Dog Studios, Guerrilla Games has done a great job recently. Like Sony Interactive has done an excellent job with their IPs. I mean, we need companies like this. So don't just throw Nintendo under the bus and talk them as if they're like some garbage company from like sent from hell to like torture all the Smash players. Like, let's be realistic here, guys. Like, I don't always 100% agree with like what Nintendo's done, to be honest. But like, because I know if you look back at the track record, they're gonna mention like Evo 2013, like we mentioned yesterday, how they trying to stream the tournament. Nintendo canceled, the blocked out the stream. Then 40 minutes later, after people were ranting on Twitter, Nintendo said, all right, we're gonna allow it. They don't want to have that negative attention. So they were able to stream Evo finally, and that ended up turning out a positive and ended up reviving actually Smash again. So that was actually a really good turn of events. Now, it's it's really just a matter of like I feel like we need to come with like a level-headed mind, be a little bit more able to compromise, able to understand both sides, like understand why Nintendo's doing something. Like Nintendo doesn't just wake up and say like, oh, we're gonna block this Smash tournament because we hate these kids. Like, yeah, we just can't stand these kids. Like that's not what they're doing. They're doing it to either protect their IP, they're doing it because it's in their best business interest, and it could be financial purposes. It could be they want to promote their newest game, Smash Ultimate. They want people to buy that game, and that's what their main focus is. So let's understand it from a business level-headed perspective. You could argue it's unethical all you want. It's not illegal, and it's perfectly fine. That's exactly what a business needs to do. So I don't fault them in that sense. But my only issue is like I think Nintendo is lacking in the sense that the way they go about it can be a little bit better. The way they like the handling crowd control, PR, things like that, I feel like could be done a little bit better. Like Senpai had mentioned yesterday, the potential of having maybe an ambassador
Yeah.
that can, bridge the gap between the Smash community and Nintendo. It's
yeah.
not required. Like JJ said, it's not something that Nintendo needs to
They
do,
don't need to do it.
and it's
They
not
don't-
even,
they're
and it's
in a
probably not
position
even
where they
worth it
have
on their
to.
end. The thing is that
Yeah.
it's probably not even worth it for Nintendo to even like hire someone as an ambassador. And from their point of view, it's like, why would we do that? That's like
Yeah.
throwing
Well,
money
they don't
away for
have
them.
to. In all honesty, they really don't
Mhm.
have to because a lot of this stuff they could just wait it out. Because
Mhm.
here's the thing, like I said yesterday, and I'll say it again, like everybody complaining right now, as much as they're on high emotions at this current moment, you're still gonna buy Nintendo games. You're still gonna follow and do stuff with
Mhm.
Smash Bros. Or get
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
Smash character or whatever else. Nintendo doesn't have to do anything. Nintendo doesn't
Mhm.
have to really. They're not in a position like a lot of other fighting game companies that go to like places like Evo or any other like Super Battle Op or any other big tournament out there that their games are showcased. Those companies technically still need that stuff for those games to thrive. Even
Yeah.
though you got companies like
Mhm.
Capcom that do and Bandai Namco that do multiple styles of games and stuff, they still would like to have stuff like that because it gives them more relevance for those titles. With
Yeah.
Nintendo, if they lost Smash Brothers right now, as big as a franchise as that is, and that nothing ever happened to it again, they'd still be good because everybody around the world outside of Smash buys Nintendo products, particularly for other franchises like Mario, like Zelda, like Metroid, like other stuff that arguably could be as bigger and much more relevant for them than
That's
Smash
true.
Brothers.
Definitely.
That's just the nature of the business, and that's how they've
Mhm.
built their business over many years. They built a
Definitely.
brand that has a resonance with people.
Correct. Their brand identity is basically based
Yeah.
around like, family friendly oriented, nostalgia, things like that. And that's definitely 100% true. Now, what I think is as a solution for the community, because the community is kind of like we're going in all types of directions. And I feel like, a lot of content creators are kind of just swaying public opinion, one way or the other. And I feel like as a content creator, I feel like your job isn't just to like think for the people, it's to provide people with information and allow them to think for their own. You can provide your opinion, but let them know, hey, this is my opinion. I want people to think about this subject and you say what they believe in and have your own opinion. Don't just don't just blindly follow me because I say, oh, F Nintendo. Like I don't want to just I wouldn't go out there and say F Nintendo. I don't want all my subscribers to just go, all right, let's post on Twitter and grab the pitchforks, let's go crazy. Like
Yeah, that kind of
no,
pisses
I
me
don't.
Yeah,
off.
that's not
Yeah.
No,
beneficial. That
I
doesn't
don't.
help
Yeah,
the
that's
always
not. That's
situation.
not. That's not like that's not the way to
A
go
lot of
about it.
figureheads that are doing that. And again, we've seen this from a lot of different people, and not even just Smash Brothers people, but a lot of Nintendo creators and brand ambassadors do that, and that's not fair because at that point, especially with the Smash community or Melee, but Smash in general, you're never going to get the Nintendo to sit at the table with you guys.
Definitely,
Yeah.
you're just dividing it. You're just
Let
creating an even
alone
bigger divide.
let alone that stuff that's happened like earlier this year, which is a whole nother deal, which I don't blame or begrudge Nintendo from distancing themselves from it. But like that type of stuff on top of that, with all these things going on, when Nintendo's been open and transparent with most people as much as they can at this point, like they're never going to get a lot of those people to sit down with them. Again, it's just I can't blame them for being like that. Why as a business, as a brand that holds an IP, why would I want to constantly engage with a group, even though I know they're going to buy my games? But like, why if they're going to constantly ridicule me or constantly do things in this type of way, why would I go out of my way to work with them?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Like that's
makes
that's the
sense.
big issue. Like
I agree.
as a community, like I feel like the proper answer and the way to respond to this and the way to try to fix this type of situation or create a bridge to fill this gap between Nintendo and the community is truthfully it's the same thing with Pokemon. They continue pushing out what they feel is the proper direction because they're making sales. They're hitting sales numbers. If you're selling a game and it is breaking records or it's constantly selling well, a company's gonna go, wow, we're going in the right direction. Doesn't matter what you say on Twitter, they're going off the numbers. If the numbers are good, why change it? Exactly. So there's no point in Nintendo changing. It's pointless and it's bad business practice. So in this sense, as a community, we need to show them, how important the competitive side of the community is to Smash. Of
Yeah.
course, it's not Nintendo does not need us. They don't. Like they don't. But the difference is that we make up a good chunk of their sales for Smash Ultimate, and we make up a good percentage of the target that they try to hit with Smash Ultimate sales, the DLC packs, things like that. I think a good way to show Nintendo that we want to have some type of say, not a say, I don't want to go overstep my boundaries, but some type of like reasonable meeting ground is, I would say we need, as a community, need to just stop purchasing Smash DLC products and just stop purchasing Smash products as a whole for now, and let Nintendo feel the financial decline, and then they'll say, and they'll be like, what's going on here? Maybe we might need to listen a little bit. How can we adjust this to get our sales back up? Because at the end of the day, they're going to look at the numbers. They're going based off the numbers, and that's what that's what's going to adjust their business decisions. So if we're not targeting the money, this means nothing. You can say all you want, but if this is coming in, they can care less. It doesn't chip off the shoulder for them. So at that point, like as a community, we need to just gather around and just say, hey, we need to stop supporting. If we don't believe that what they're doing is ethical, let's take a step back. Let's not bash them, hate them, and push them to the side. Let's try to show them our discomfort by hitting them where it hurts, which is the financial side of it. So no disrespect to Nintendo. I just think that's the proper legal appropriate way to do this.
I see a lot of people say that, and I don't think it's a question of ethics. It's a question of morality. Like really, it's
morality.
I
apologize.
People just disagree with Nintendo's approach to it, because an ethical thing would be like forcing people to buy like a DLC in order to enter a tournament. That's like an unethical thing.
True. That's true. That's true. Ethics versus morals.
Terminology around way too much without actually really like knowing the full extent of it and stuff. If it's a question of morality and you just don't like the direction and the decisions that Nintendo has made with this stuff, then I could totally get that. Then I could totally see like, okay, you just decide not to buy the Smash next DLC character that comes out, or even the next Smash game if there's one announced. That I could totally see. I think that's a fair thing to me.
I think
that's the best thing that any community can do when it comes to that type of stuff, because they'll pay attention, they'll listen to it. Again, they don't have to do anything. Again, it's just that's only that small section of their catalog and stuff, but still, like I think that's a fair assessment.
No, definitely. Like DJ said, like I think that's the proper way to do it, because I know, like you said, they don't have to listen to us, but when this starts to run out or starts to lower, that's when they have to sit there. In any logical business, when the money starts fading, they're gonna look at it and say, what are we doing wrong? What do we need to adjust? What's going on? How do we fix this? How do we get back on track? Because they want to make sure that this is always coming in. This is the most important thing. So guys, we always forget this. We always talk about Nintendo and them being immoral and that they hate the community. And no, they don't hate the community. They like this. We're just not targeting what's important. We're not going after how to actually properly fix this the legal way. And the great thing about us as a community and the freedoms that we have is that we are free to not buy their game. They cannot hold a gun to our head and force us to buy this game. We're gonna buy because we love the game, but it's our freedom and our choice. The same way we had the choice and freedom to buy that game, I have the freedom and choice to boycott or not purchase that product. And that's a fair way of saying, hey, we don't like the direction you guys are going. Let's try to come with some meeting ground. Let's be level-headed. Let's be professional. That's why I know JJ is a little bit against an ambassador, but maybe what they can do is maybe we can like come up with like some figurehead in the community that might be level-headed, has very good ideas, and just to try to contact and reach out with Nintendo and show them, like, hey, this is what we can do. Maybe Nintendo doesn't pay an ambassador directly, because I know that they don't want to spend money on that. That's not of their interest.
But
so
someone that they can talk to and relate to, that is like a part of the Smash community that people can look up to as, hey.
But they also understand the business side.
Yeah,
sorry, go
and
ahead.
of course, and have someone that actually understands the business side, so that way they're like, hey, this is what Nintendo wants, this is what they don't want, and we just got to accept their decisions and whatnot and work with them, so that way they can work with us, because. If that can't happen, then Nintendo's gonna be like, well, we don't need you guys. As like what Jake said, like they have all their other franchises that they can still make bank off of, and they can just drop the Smash community, like bye the next day.
Definitely.
I mean, they're already self-sufficient as is. The Smash community is technically self-sufficient when it comes to getting awareness out about it. Nintendo doesn't really need to do anything. I think even the Twit longer said that same thing. I mean, it's true. It's just a sad truth, because, like I said,
definitely
show up for Nintendo, just again as fans and stuff. But I think that's a fair thing to at least think about. I don't think that it's something that's ever going to be fully fleshed out anytime soon, or anything that's
very difficult to do.
Work well, because with everything that's happened with 2020 and even before then. So it's just the way it is right now. I feel like everybody's still just high up on emotions with this type of stuff, but eventually
Yeah.
it'll blow over.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he has a point. I mean, again, like I said, like I feel like what I mentioned is like the proper thing to do, but it's a pipe dream. I mean, if you think about it, like the chances of these types of things even occurring, everybody coming together as a community and realizing like, hey, we're going about this the wrong way. Let's do this the proper way. Let's stop slandering Nintendo. That's just gonna divide the gap even more. I know some people are like, oh, they're never gonna help us, but think about it this way. Nintendo is not going to support us financially. They're not going to go to tournaments. They're not going to fund our tournaments. Get that out of your head. That's not their best interest.
Yeah.
What your goal and your objective is to be at least on terms with Nintendo for them to feel okay and comfortable with us hosting tournaments, allowing us to play
Yeah.
and enjoy their game, without
Problems and
the
issues.
fear of cancellation or season desist or any types of like things that might interrupt those competitions and things of that nature. And the problem is with the community is that we kind of like we keep putting the blame on Nintendo. We keep blaming Nintendo, blaming Nintendo, blaming Nintendo. It's their issue. It's their fault. We're perfect. We don't do anything wrong. But let's look at ourselves for a second. We had a lot of Smash players recently with a lot of controversies. Coming from Nintendo, if we see a lot of these top players with so many controversies, it's
Some of
just
them even talking now, by the way, which is funny.
definitely.
Yeah.
And it's as a Nintendo, like if I'm in Nintendo's shoes, it's gonna turn me away. I'm like, oh, this is like really bad publicity.
Yeah,
We
hell
don't want to
yeah.
be associated with these people.
No.
We don't want to and the problem is, I think people need to educate themselves and realize that, Nintendo is not associated with these individuals. Smash
Exactly.
Brothers, like I mentioned yesterday, is a humongous community. It has an enormous amount of players. Evo 20, I believe, what is it, 2018 or 2019 had the largest show out Smash tournament. It was like 4,500 players, and it was insane. When you have a community that large, you're bound to have, individuals who are good people and genuine, people that care about the community and want to do their proper thing, and you're gonna have people that just do the wrong things. Individuals that are very what's it called, controversial. That's always gonna come around, and I feel like unfortunately we have to basically separate those individuals from the rest of the community and let Nintendo know like we don't accept these people in our community. This is not what we are for. This is not what we're trying to be. Let's try to separate them from
Like
the
pretty
community.
much like the
We want to show
community.
Nintendo that we are a proper, genuine community that
Others.
cares about the game. We love the company Nintendo. We're not trying to be disrespectful or rude. We just we want certain basic elements that we just want to play. We want to enjoy ourselves, and we want that fear of like I said, season assists and a couple different things. And of course, I understand again from Nintendo's side, they don't have to do it. Like we spoke about, they really don't. They don't have to do it. Like it's immoral, but that doesn't matter. The business is make money. That's the most important thing, and I don't blame them. That's why they're successful, and that's why they're so big. That's why they have enough funds to pump out these amazing games. Just think about it. Smaller studios can't really scale to the level of Nintendo because they don't have the available funds. They can create great games. Any studio can make great games, but the level of funding, the level not I won't say quality, because smaller indie games can have amazing quality as well. But when you have a game that's when you can fund huge groups of developers, huge studios, you can create massive titles, that just have millions and millions of sales and very successful titles, So it's just some of my thoughts on that.
So what I wanted to say to piggyback off of you was that if the community can show Nintendo that hey, we can police our own, especially those that just make the community look bad, then maybe Nintendo will take a look at the community and be like, okay, these guys are able to police their own. Yeah, there's some bad apples within the Smash community, and we have to completely weed them out and be like, hey, we don't want you a part of us. So that way, we don't want you a part of our community because you're gonna make us look bad, and that's gonna hurt, future. Yeah, pretty much the community's image. And I would not like, and I wouldn't want to see Nintendo coming in and be like, yeah, no venues can host Smash tournaments or whatnot. You can't stream Smash. I wouldn't want that to happen to you guys because you guys are very passionate about this game, and I see it all the time when I go to Flint Arcade and whatnot, located in Margate, Florida. But that's a plug in, by the way. but yeah, like I would not want Nintendo to be like, you know what? No one can have tournaments because the Smash community is just acting out of control. They can't police themselves. And I think as a community, it is, everyone in the community's due diligence to police one another and make sure that no one isn't, acting inappropriately and there's respect amongst all players, and
Definitely.
a high level of maturity. That one is very important.
Yeah, definitely. That's super important. Like again, picking back on the whole community in the sense of like everything. What I feel is the issues with the community as well is just that like, let's be realistic here, guys. Like the problem with the community is that we don't like we kind of have an issue of groupthink in the sense that
Right.
we have figureheads that are posting these specific things, giving their own bias to it. We have very strong biases, and that's my problem. We don't look at the other side. We don't acknowledge the other side. We don't try to understand where they're coming from, and that's where the issues become. Because in this sense, if you are Nintendo, picture yourself in your shoes. If you're looking at this community, remember our community, you might not see it this way, but we're somewhat of a brand. We have like a reputation, and we have to have like an image. So we have to show Nintendo the proper image, the proper reputation. So when Nintendo looks at our community and sees, people like this doing things like that happened earlier this year, that damages our reputation, that damages our image. So if you're a business, do you want to hire somebody that has this type of image, has this type of reputation? Like this is not what you want. You want to weed that out of the community. You want to associate your business with those types of things. So again, like my issue is, we need people that, I don't want to say think different or go, go crazily against the community, but people that can just like, speak not opposite opinions, but like make people understand both sides. Like JJ does an excellent job of referring to the business side of Nintendo, and like we need more people like JJ, like I mentioned, like speaking within the community, because we need people to understand, like, I know you guys love the game. We all want to play it. We all want to host it. Whatever. But there's certain things that come along with those types of things. Businesses have their own freedoms and their own rights. It is their property, like we've mentioned with JJ. Like, we have to acknowledge that they have their rights and we have our own personal rights, and that's what makes the business exchange great, is that we have our own freedoms to choose whether we not want to buy or not buy the game, and then they have the freedoms to choose how they want their game to be handled, how they want their property to be dealt with, what they want associated with their property, things of that nature,
Absolutely.
Uh-huh.
You got anything, Waluigi?
You can say it now.
I know. I'm actually thinking about it. Like, regardless of everything, no matter what kind of compromise that we pull off, Nintendo is definitely a big business, and we can definitely agree upon that. And our request might not be heard eventually or soon, but it's just going to be a compromise with another Fire Emblem character. I'm just going to say it.
That would be a slap in the face.
Like, I would die. Like,
it's hot in Japan.
That'd be funny.
It's cool over there. It's cool over here too. But I'm good, son. All I need is Scorpion and Sub-Zero, and I'm a happy man. I'll take a victory lap.
I just want Waluigi. I just want
That's
Waluigi.
Yeah, Waluigi would be great.
That's it, man.
Man,
That's the reason why I made this stupid name, Waluigi, originally, just because I thought he was going to be in Smash.
Man, nobody cares about Waluigi. That's why he's I know. The best thing he ever got. You know what the best thing Waluigi ever got? Mario Tennis. Go play tennis for him. Okay.
He's actually good in that game.
Yeah.
It's a good game. Don't get me wrong, but it's not Smash.
Yeah.
You're not Smash. You're not doing real Smash. You're smashing tennis balls.
It's going down.
I always want new, like, cool characters or like new different IPs and stuff of that nature. And like my thing is, like, I can't complain. They gave me Joker. I have no complaints. Like I can't say anything, man. They gave me
Everything
Joker.
is
Like
possible now.
yeah, that was
I did like
that was
Banjo.
crazy.
Cloud in a Nintendo game. Real.
Definitely.
Like that in of itself back then. in
At the
Smash
time was
4
crazy. That was the craziest thing ever.
the craziest.
Cloud and
thing.
Bayonetta.
Like that,
Yeah.
it was really Cloud, because what Cloud means and what that represents is that anything now these days when it comes to crossovers between companies is possible.
Goes.
Because a couple years ago, prior to that, and especially last generation and prior to that, that was never possible.
Yeah.
Straight up, that would never happen. Now we're in a whole new era.
Definitely. No, I agree.
Yeah.
That's super interesting about it. Ah, man.
Well, moral of the story of of this episode is that Smash community, you guys are great. You guys are awesome. Continue to police each other, and look out for one another, and so that way you guys can show Nintendo that this is a great community. This is a strong community. We do look after each other, and we will hold each other accountable, so that way we can continue enjoy these games that you guys provide, that you guys put out there for us to enjoy, and you're also able to allow us to make content about your game, stream your game, and host your game at local venues.
Definitely.
Definitely.
Make sure y'all stay as Joy-Con boys. That never gets old, man.
A shirt that says Joy-Con boys. I haven't got a
I'm
shirt
trying.
yet.
I'm trying to remember what else we spoke about yesterday. I feel like we're missing a few things about it, man.
Shit ton of characters.
I mean, we covered everything because it was like we talked for about, I think, 45 minutes and a little bit over. So I guess we hit everything that we wanted to, discuss about.
Yeah, for the most part, I'm trying to think.
Pretty much.
Hmm.
Like the casinos usually say, the house always wins.
Yeah,
Nobody
that's
cares
true.
about Waluigi. Like,
Oh man.
I got a
you know
cosplay
how
of
it is.
Waluigi again.
How it is out here.
Man, I can't wait to like get conventions up and running again and be able to go out there
Cosplay of
again.
Waluigi again. I
Like,
don't know when.
Same.
I
Well,
can't wait, man.
on that note, let's go ahead and put a bow on it and wrap this thing up.
Smashing,
Awesome.
I do say.
Smash it.
Smashing Waluigi.
Thornberry, don't you judge me.
Well, before I close out, do any of you guys have any last words you guys want to say as we close it out?
And I'm gonna let you guys go first.
This was definitely a great first episode. Well, technically second, but I did enjoy the debut of this Otaku side. Can't wait for more episodes. Great to have you two with us.
Great to
Absolutely.
be here. Any closing comments, JJ?
No, just glad. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate talking with all of you guys again for a second time. First to the worst.
It's always better the second time.
Yeah, it's always better the second time.
Just like the fourth time with
it
us.
it was a good combo. I think hopefully, everybody walks out from this, after listening to it, that you guys get a good bunch of food for thought, and you get to check out all the stuff from everybody here, as always. And stuff, same thing with mine, on YouTube, on Twitter, and all that stuff. Give everybody a follow to say hi to everybody, get that interaction up and stuff, because I feel like a lot of that, a lot of good topics and a lot of good stuff gets passed around once you're actually engaged with everybody. And I feel like everybody listening to this now, go leave a comment on this, or go hit up Silverback, or go hit up Waluigi, or any of us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, wherever. Because I feel like we need more of that down here in South Florida, and just in general. We need a lot more good stuff. We get too much nonsense on social media from everywhere else.
Definitely.
We could always use a little bit better stuff here and there.
Definitely. 100% agree. That was really good. Really good closing stuff.
And
For me, honestly, I have like closing comments mostly just regarding the community. Like before we close, I know I kind of like spoke a lot about the community. I know the community's probably looking at me like, ah, man, this guy hates us, trash this guy. But truthfully, guys, I love the community. I love going to Smash tournaments. Silverback see me at Flynn's all the time playing tournaments. You guys, how much I love playing with everybody. You know how much fun I have talking crap. Playing with everybody. I literally laugh during my sets, man. I have an amazing time. And it's just like, what I want to distress is like, as a community, like I love Melee. I know I kind of like I know I made Melee look bad, but I love Melee. It's sick. I really hope Melee, free Melee the right way, and I'm really hoping Melee can be played, streamed. I love watching Melee. Melee is super fun to watch. Don't get the wrong idea. I'm really hoping we can ideally resolve this situation. But again, we just we need to come together and just find proper solutions to the issues. I think like again as a community, just like guys, please stop having biases. Like just because someone has a different opinion, like don't toss them to the side. Don't just block them. Like listen to what they have to say. Even if you don't agree with it, you don't have to agree. You don't have to agree with what I say. You don't have to agree with what they say. You don't have to agree with anything we say. But that's why everybody has their opinion. But just like acknowledge that they exist, listen to their opinion, and sometimes like genuine people who are open-minded might change their perspective or change what they think. Speaking with JJ, like I changed a lot of my perspectives about things. I didn't fully understand certain things, and now I do, more or less. And my stance is still more or less centered. I believe we need to come to like some types of middle grounds between both parties. But again, like I learned a lot more during the session, stuff like that. So that's what I think is most important. It's always about learning, improving ourselves, like not just turning people away. Don't just cancel people because they have a different opinion from you. Everyone's entitled to their opinions. Everybody has their own freedom of choice, freedom of opinions, stuff like that. So like I just think we should all acknowledge each other's opinions, listen to it. We can definitely learn a lot from each other, and I feel like that's just the best way to go about it. Like don't just follow whose opinion you agree with and blindly follow it to a T.
Right.
that's how you end up with things like cults. That's how you end up with group
said.
things. That's how you end up with just situations where it's like, if you have one group of people that just think a certain way, just imagine what the world would be like. You need people that have different opinions, opposite opinions, conflicting opinions, to speak to each other, discuss things in a proper, appropriate way. Don't fight each other, don't dog each other. Don't say rude things. Like between like me and JJ, even though I'm not super far opposed to JJ's opinions, I actually agree with a lot of what JJ has to say. I'm like a little bit more centered. Um, we do differ on certain things, but I do agree with a lot of what he has to say. I like what he has to say. I listen to it, and I agree with a lot of the points he makes. He does an excellent job, and I think that's what's most important. Is like, don't just go out there and dog people who have opposite opinions. Try to understand them, come to a conclusion, middle
Yeah.
ground. That's how we fix things. That's how we solve things like that. Like I hate when I post something on Twitter, and people just look at me like, oh, this guy's an idiot, and I just I get follows, and I get blocked by certain people and stuff like that. And I don't say anything disrespectful. I don't say anything like rude or anything. I'm just letting my opinion out there, whether
Yeah.
people like it or not. So again, let's just come together and try to acknowledge everything.
Definitely agree on
Absolutely.
that one. Well said, my dude.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to help the community, man. I love you guys. Like I just want to help, man. Like I wish I could speak to Nintendo personally, speak to them and just understand, what their issues are, what might be, stopping them from allowing us to do these types of things, or what's going on in their head. I want to understand more about them and their side of things, because we already know what the community is thinking.
Yeah.
We see it on the Twitter, we see it on Twitter longer. Like I know what you guys are thinking. I talk to you guys. Nintendo, we can assume things. Me and JJ, I would say we understand like most of the decisions they're making, but we're still making assumptions technically because it's not coming directly. Sometimes they make statements, of course, but a lot of times we're just assuming what would be best business practice in their shoes. But I still want to like come to their side, understand maybe a little bit more. There might be things that me and JJ are missing that I think that would be
I
really
think we
like
are,
cool if we
straight up.
can.
I think so,
Definitely,
everybody.
we could potentially be wrong, and like that's the thing. Like we have to be open minded to understand that, and like
Yeah.
have that like curiosity to want to know more and understand more. Understanding leads to like creating better solutions and fixing things. If you understand what's going on all around, you're able to fix something. If you only understand one portion of it, you're gonna have a bias on that situation.
Yeah.
And it's that I just want to avoid biases. I want to avoid things like that. I just don't want people just to think one way and have like get swayed by a popular streamer or gamer's opinion. I don't want to discredit streamers or gamers. There's some that do a great job defining their stances and stuff like that. Personally, I know HBox is controversial. I talked about this yesterday, but he does a great job, creating a voice for the community. And I like the fact that, like, I know you might say like he kind of sways in one way or another, but he doesn't put too much bias into it. He just says what he kind of like thinks or believes in. It's that most of his followers are like devout. That's the problem. Like, I think he goes about it the professional, respectful way. And he said it himself. He wants to speak to Nintendo executives and learn more about it. He's more willing to understand. But his followers are gonna look at him and be like, oh yeah, if Nintendo. And it's like, come on, guys, let's not do that. So I wish HBox would come out and make a statement and say, hey guys, let's go about this a different way. He might not, he doesn't want to turn away, people that view him, because that might turn away viewership, stuff like that. He doesn't want to be controversial, create controversy. But I think that would be an appropriate thing for like a leader like or figurehead like him for him to do something like that along those lines.
Okay.
Alrighty.
I spoke so much.
No, you're good,
I'm
man.
sorry,
You're
guys.
good,
I
man.
went off on a tangent.
You're
You
good,
can tell
my
how much
dude.
I love Smash, man. The passion's there. It's like
Ab-
it's.
Listen, man, I see it all the time when I go to when there's a Smash tournament. So, hey,
Passion, a lot of teas, a lot of.
absolutely, man.
Colors sweep into the spiral of flame. Gasping. I'm sorry, I love the theme. That theme slaps. Don't you judge me.
It
That's
is a
all.
good song. It is a good song. When I first heard that, I was like, "Wow, this is beautiful. Great job, Nintendo."
Alrighty, well, that concludes our first episode of Otakus of South Florida Fireside Chat. This is Silverback Senpai, Waluigi, Jake James, Lugo, and DGK signing off. We will see you guys on the next one.
Peace
Catch
out,
you guys
y'all.
later. Peace out, guys.
Later.